And as I said, we have a 5-year corporate plan, which I went through in a bit more detail last year. I'm not going to do that today. You'll be pleased to hear. But you know, we do monitor that corporate plan, and we do try to make sure we're keeping on track with the targets we set. So it's important to look ahead. The corporate plan sort of scope is 5 years. The Community Housing Cymru, most of you will know, is our sort of support and trade body. They've been doing some work with the sector and looking a lot further forward. And I'm really pleased that we've got Aaron Hill here, who is currently Public Affairs Manager, but is slowly morphing into Interim Director of Policy, covering a colleague for maternity leave. And Aaron's going to talk a little bit about the Housing Horizons project, which does try to sort of forecast what might happen in the future and what that might mean for all of us, housing association and our tenants.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks for having me today. I had no idea I was being broadcast on Facebook. My nan's 84, she's recently joined, so she hasn't quite worked it out. If you start getting lots of those angry faces coming across the screen, then it's probably her. I'm here, as Paul said today, to talk about sort of the future of housing associations. CHC have been running the Housing Horizons project since December last year, looking at setting a long-term vision for the sector, looking 20 years ahead and thinking about what we might look like then. And before we did that, I think we needed to get a sense of what Wales might look like in 20 years. Given all the political uncertainty and everything, it was quite a difficult job. We commissioned a piece of research to look at what the population change might be, how we might be interacting with landlords, those sorts of things. So before I start talking, I'm going to show a short video which summarises some of those challenges. seen that video so many times it's starting to feel like a feature-length movie, but I think it gives a good summary of the sort of challenges that housing associations will face in the next 20 years. But the thing that really struck me was that we're going to see an increase in the overall population in Wales, but a decrease in the working age population. So how do we balance that with the fewer people working, fewer people paying taxes, more people who are going to need that extra support later in life, the ageing population? And the digital revolution, I think, in my lifetime, just in the last year, I've seen my bank is entirely on my smartphone now. What will tenants expect in 20 years' time in terms of paying their rent, in terms of requesting their maintenance, those sorts of things? These things are going to change quite rapidly for housing associations. And the other thing, with the drop in working age population, you mentioned in the video there, how do we attract enough people with the right skills to work for housing associations? Following sort of establishing the challenge, we had a look at outside of housing associations. What were we looking at? As a sector, we tend to be quite reliant on political cycles. Every 5 years, there's a new government. We talk about the housing crisis, and funding comes with that to solve it. But this project is about setting an ambition, a vision that's longer than that, but extends beyond those 5-year periods. To say that we are here to solve the housing crisis. This is how we can do it. So what do those challenges specifically look like for Newydd? I've got a few slides here just looking at the local authorities that Newydd predominantly works in. So RCT, for example, you see there the percentage change in the population will be 9%, extra 9,500 households over 20 years. But if you break that down again, it's sort of reflective of that Welsh population. So in an area that's already struggling economically, you're going to have extra challenge in terms of getting people into work, extra challenge in terms of people with more support needs. The Vale of Glamorgan, again, very, very similar to RCT, but these are both areas that you'd expect with the South Wales Metro, these sorts of projects going on to benefit. You're seeing an increase in the population and a decrease in the numbers of working age. And then probably one of the most challenging, I think, in terms of those figures is Powys. We talk about housing crisis all the time, but actually what we're seeing is over the next 20 years in an area like Powys, the population will actually decrease. The number of households formed in that area will go down as people move away from work. And what you saw on the slide in the video is that actually every age group under the age of 65 will be lower, but the over 65s will be significantly higher. So what does that mean for an area like that? What will the support needs be of tenants? What will housing associations need to build? And in particular, talking about digital and things like that in an area like Powys, where we know broadband at the moment isn't very good, but we know that we think the tenants might in the future be more digitally enabled and will want to engage with the housing association in that way. And the questions we asked, once we've sort of seen those stats and established the challenges, what services are important to tenants now and in the future? So, as the state sort of steps back, we've seen through austerity in recent years, the state is delivering less. The government can deliver fewer services. What can housing associations do? Is there a role for them in that? We already see the great work that Newydd do in terms of community generation. What more can be done, or what less with some of those challenges? What about the type of housing we should be providing for now and in the future? Historically, social housing would have had a much broader range of people living in it historically because there was more of it, and we see the drive to build more of it. Do we need to broaden our offer? I know Newydd do lots in terms of low cost home ownership, which helps to fund more social housing. Will housing associations be doing more of that in the future? And are we building the right homes for the challenge? You saw the figures there in terms of single person households, and particularly where the population grows in Cardiff, you see more people living alone. So are we building the right types of homes? These are the sorts of questions we'd be asking. Also, what will our leaders look like? What will the relationship with government and the state look like? But before we get to that, there's a few challenges for today that we need to overcome. I wasn't going to list them all. I'm not going to show you another video. But there's two in particular. Brexit. It's a political hot potato of the day, and I'm not going to go into the arguments for and against. But there are some real challenges for the sector. Those members of ours that provide social care already seeing difficulties in terms of recruitment. Construction. We get a lot of our materials to build homes from Europe. So how can we solve that? Do we build more off-site, or are we going to have to form new relationships to bring in the materials that we need? And then welfare reform. We're already seeing the impact that that's having on tenants and on businesses, and there's more to come, unfortunately. The rollout of universal credit continues into this year and next. We've seen the local housing allowance cap come in. What does that mean to the services we can deliver now and in the future? And what sort of relationship will we need with government for that? And the conversation on Housing Horizons has been going on really for close to a year. I'm conscious we've spoken to lots of our members, to lenders, other stakeholders. The group that we didn't want to ignore and we wanted to involve in the conversation now at this stage was tenants. And they're a really important part of this conversation. So I suppose my call before I finished really was to get involved. We've just launched a survey, which if you look on Community Housing Company's Twitter or our Facebook, it'll be available there. We're also channeling it through TPAS for those who are not online. And there's an opportunity to answer some of those questions. And as we shape the vision, make sure that tenants' voices are included. We'll be launching the vision in November, our annual conference. So you've got a couple of months, and I just urge you all to get involved. And thank you for listening.
Thanks very much, Aaron. I mean, lots there to think about. I'm going to finish off now really with a series of thank yous to quite a few people. First thank you is to our staff. So there we go. There's our Finance and Resources Director in the centre, and the two members of our IT team. So a bit scary on a dark night. So I mean, but no, seriously. I mean, it's a fun slide, but I mean, I just really wanted to thank the staff. They've been absolutely brilliant over the last year. They're committed, hard-working, energetic, innovative, come up with great ideas, and actually it's been quite a tough year. I mean, some of you will know we lost one of our colleagues in very tragic circumstances, Dina Williams, who looked after our independent living schemes, and it was a really tough time for the staff, and really, they all pulled together magnificently. So, I want to thank them. They make my job far easier than it could be. Still quite hard. And then if any of you, were sort of thinking about board membership and thought, well, board membership can't be that much fun sitting in long, boring meetings, it's not that bad. Our board members do laugh, they do have fun. So, I want to thank our board members collectively for the sort of challenge and support they bring. We've had some good meetings, we've had some good discussions. We often come out of the meetings better than we went into them in terms of ideas and feedback. And things that we need to think about for the future. And I'd also like to thank them for their really, solid commitment to our vision and values. They're very clear, collectively and individually, about what we're trying to achieve as an organisation and how we want to achieve it. And that really helps in terms of those discussions at board about big decisions going forward. And it can be fun. There are meetings, but you can make some good sort of contacts. There is a social side to it, and if any of you are thinking about board membership, then just as I say, this time next year we do need to appoint a replacement tenant on our board. Moving on to a few individual thank yous. The first one is Martin Simmons. David's already mentioned Martin. Martin spent 6 years on the Calan board, and including a role as chair of Living Quarters Wales. Martin had a housing management background, which was really useful on the board. He was also very keen on sort of the maintenance side and the development side, and for a while he was our asset management board champion. So, a big thank you to Martin for 6 years, sterling service. He's not here today, but, record that in the minutes, hopefully. Second person is David Evans, and as I said earlier, 22 years on the board, almost been here as long as I have. He was chair between 2011 and 2015, a solicitor by profession, and a really solid board member, a really good person to sort of take a view from, and to always the sort of voice of reason and a very sensible voice on the board. So we will miss David. So thank you to him. And then last but certainly not least, is he looking at the screen? Many of you will know David. David served 8 years on the board, and for the past 5 years has been CADARM chair. He's also been board champion for antisocial behaviour, for value for money, for risk, and for asset management. He's also served on the Newydd board, and he's also served on the Living Quarters Wales board. Fortunately, David's retired. Otherwise, I think he would really struggle to have done all that. But David has been an absolutely fantastic chair. So supportive, and I think more than just being supportive to me and to the senior management team, he's been really supportive to tenants and to the staff team. He's been there in the thick of it. He's come along to task and finish group meetings. He's sat down with tenants. He's sat down with staff members and worked through issues. And he's been really open to sort of getting that direct feedback. So it's been absolutely fantastic as a chair, and I'll be really, really sad that we're not going to have David involved in the board going forward. But I know he's off to another board elsewhere in Wales, so our loss is definitely their gain. So a big thank you to David. The next thank you is really to all of you, to tenants really, but I'm just going to pick on one tenant, and I'll explain why in a minute. Mrs Hinwood is in the audience today. Hi Mrs Hinwood. I think this is Mrs Hinwood. Was this a year ago or maybe a couple of years ago? Maybe a year ago. Mrs Hinwood has been a tenant of ours since 1978, so just coming up for 40 years. She started her sort of tenancy career with us in our scheme in Cumbach, near Aberdare, and is currently living in Altwen, one of our independent living schemes. Mrs Hinwood is, unfortunately for us, moving on from Newydd. She's going into more suitable accommodation. But thank you, Mrs Hinwood, for 40 years nearly as a Newydd tenant. But the reason I wanted to flag that up is, even though Mrs Hinwood is leaving us as a tenant, she will remain a share member. So again, a bit of an advert. If any of you want to become a share member and to sort of continue your involvement with the organisation, then there are forms at the back of the room on the desk when you came in, and we'd be really happy to receive your applications. So, really, good luck to you, Mrs Hinwood, for the future. I hope you enjoy your new home, and thank you. Thank you, and to lots of other tenants as well. It's not just Mrs Hinwood, lots of other tenants who've been so loyal over the past decades, really, not just years. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the sort of feedback you give us and the involvement in our work.
Thank you.
Tenants, staff and board members are really part of the Newydd community. But the community is also other people as well. It's the people who live close to our estates, it's the people who live on our estates that aren't necessarily tenants. It's also the sort of family of our tenants. And we work really hard to engage with those communities. It's one key element of our vision is about achieving sustainable communities. So that's communities that are thriving, it's communities where people feel proud to live, it's communities where people feel safe and where they feel included. And every year we have a pot of money which we allocate, which are called community grants, and we give those pots of money out to community groups, mainly involving activities that involve our tenants, but not exclusively. And the idea is that those community groups will use that funding to try and develop services and to engage and to improve the lives of people living in the communities that we serve. So what I'm going to do now is show a fairly short video about one of the groups, which is based up in Rhydyfelin, near Pontypridd, and some of the work they've been doing using song as a way of bringing people together and building confidence and making friends.
My name is Babs. I'm the facilitator of SIDS, which is the Sensory Impairment Drop-In Scheme, which was started about 10 years ago when I lost a little bit of sight that I had. Our aims of our project are to support anyone with visual impairment in the community of all ages from 4 to 90.
Give us a song and we passed it.
I just ask
local communities if they were interested in the singing, sort of, not so much a choir, but just a singing group, very relaxed, and a lot of people said yes. Don't be put off by the weather. Seeing people who think they can't sing or might not have had the opportunity to sing suddenly coming out of their shell, they've got the opportunity to do that. It's just beautiful thing.
The Newydd Community Grant is a grant fund of £40,000 to enable tenants and residents of the areas that we work in to access funding for projects.
I applied for 2 projects, the first being a Glee club for youth members, a singing group. It's blown my mind how much talent is in the community. We've just done our first show as well, which was a big theatre production and absolutely amazing.
With the support that's come up from Newydd, it's been absolutely amazing.
I can't say enough good things about Newydd, but we wouldn't have been able to do the projects if it weren't for them.
Although we have a wonderful organisation and community team, there are certain things which we can't do, and that we know that there are projects out there that we are not the experts in. So this allows people to utilise the funding to be able to deliver those types of projects which they know are needed for their communities.
Definitely encourage others to apply for the Newydd Community Grant, because it's really accessible. When you think of funding forms, you think, oh my gosh, and it's just not like that at all. It is simplified and it's really easy to apply for.
You fill out a form, submit it to us by a certain date, and then the application panel get together and decide whether or not it's suitable for funding.
I hope I brought my kids up to think the community belongs to them, and the community is only good as the people in it, and what they can bring to it.
It's all about community, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Feel like I need to say I'm really proud of my mum.
Hi everyone. My name's Amy. So I'm the one who's been really lucky and fortunate to get funding from Newydd to start the youth project with their singing group. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them couldn't be here. There's usually about 12 of us, I think, but they couldn't get time off school or college. But lucky enough, these 3 wonderful people is Jenna, Scott, and Jazz, and I'm going to be singing with them today as well. So we're going to start with the Titanium song. Another unfortunate thing is my speakers have decided they don't want to work, so please bear with us. And if you know them, please sing along. Awesome. I liked how everyone went quiet then. Okay, we ready, guys? That's good.
We shut it out, but I can't hear a word you say. I'm talking loud, not saying much. You criticize, but all your bullets ricochet. You shoot me down, but I get up. I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Fire away, ricochet. You take your aim. Fire away. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Cut me down, but it's you who have further to fall. Rose down and haunted love. Raise your voice. Sticks and stones may break my bones. You shoot me down, but I get up. I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Fire away, ricochet. You take your aim. Fire away, fire away. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. I am titanium. I am titanium. Stone hard machine gun, firing at the ones who run. Stone hard, love's bulletproof glass. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. I am titanium. I am titanium.
They sounded pretty good, didn't they?
Oh,
Very
fantastic.
impressed with them. So we're going to do a Coldplay song now, which is called Fix You. Some of you might know it. Again, you're welcome to join in. But, you know.
When you try your best but you don't succeed. When you get what you want but not what you need. When you feel so tired but you can't see. Stuck in reverse. And the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone but it goes to waste. Could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. And the tears don't flame down your face. When you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone and it goes to waste. Could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. tears stream down your face. I promise you I will learn from my mistakes. Tears stream down your face, and tears stream down your face. When you lose something you cannot replace. Tears stream down your face, and lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
Thank you ever so much. Can I just say what an amazing uplifting end to the AGM that was. It was really, really brilliant, and just to wish you all the very best with your future endeavours as well. Thank you, and thanks again. Just a final thank you to everyone for joining us here today then. That's the end of the formal business. I believe lunch is now served in the restaurant. So there'll probably be a bit of a stampede. But everyone stay for lunch, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see all of you again next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.